Welcome guys to Zero Chills TV Creative Cliche. Today we have one of the Welcome guys to Creative Cliche. Today we have one of the iconic his name is Robert Nganga. He has a type also surprised. He doesn't look like the type to fight. He looks like a teddy bear. I will just mention, as you can see from the lower tab, this has been everything. He's a former at Scanad, where I worked with him for an year or so, and let me say I was impressed by his workaholism, so to speak, and his industry and his creativity. He's also the founder of Station77 co.ke. It's an online African content company, and the founder of Stageward, an online casting company. His name is Robert Nganga. Robert, before we start, tell us something that we don't know about you, something that LinkedIn does not know about you.
All right. I don't know what happened. Everything just went dark there.
Oh, you went dark.
yeah. Everything just kind of the whole thing went dark as you started your intro, and I lost you. I'm back.
Oh, sorry. I wanted you to introduce yourself, something that LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram does not know about you.
Right. So that's a fun one. So my intro nowadays, as I get older, is a line of work looks really safe until you get hit by a car, and I've been hit by a car on a shoot at about 100 kilometers an hour. So I might look kind of normalish right now, but I've got a few broken bones on me and a few metal pins, courtesy of a Nissan shoot in Magadi. So that might not be on my LinkedIn.
But apologies for that, and sorry, but it's part of.
Can you hear me? The feed feels a bit choppy. I don't know why.
Oh, I guess it's the internet connection.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you quite clearly.
Oh, what was Zuku na Airtel? I was asking how has it been for you in this journey to, because you're not just a creative director, but you're also a filmmaker. How has the journey been for you to get to where you are with your decades of experience?
So I've been lucky because I've kind of kept switching throughout my career. I started off as a designer many years ago at a company called Monia 2000. Used to do billboards in the late 90s, and kind of stayed on the design side. Found that I had a little bit of kind of like what I would call machine knowledge and an interest in like gear and equipment. And we started working on proofers, and screen printers and kind of like digital wide format stuff. So after about maybe like 3 years of being on the design side, I crossed over to the repro side and kind of started doing both the technical equipment side of things, and then the pre-press color separation and stuff like that. And I stayed there for a bit, probably maybe 3 years or something like that, and then moved back into the design and advertising side. Then briefly moved to the digital side as well. So many years ago, we attempted and failed to launch a digital agency called ZK Evolve, alongside the parent company, which was called ZK Advertising. This is probably 2007, 2008, thereabouts. So that didn't work. Came out, tried film actually for a bit and photography. So the story about getting hit by a car, I was actually shooting. I was shooting in Magadi, and we were doing some pickup shots for this shoot that we'd been doing all over the country. So after the accident, I didn't shoot for a while and kind of concentrated on just being a creative behind the desk. And then, you know, I've always had this calling. So I've dabbled in on the photography and film side throughout my career, you know. So it wasn't something that was kind of completely new. And it was something at the back of my mind. I kept feeling, you know, I want to do this. I want to do this. So that journey of switching, you know, keeping changing within the industry has been very helpful, I think, in making the transition. I don't think I'm by any stretch a good filmmaker just yet. So, but it's fun and you know, growing and we're enjoying it. 2 years in now with Station77. I think we've been able to do a number of fun projects. So it's not been as eventful as it sounds, because you know I kind of got in and out of it throughout my career.
Okay, well, like you said, it's not been so eventful, but in your journey to get to where you are, obviously there were challenges, and I'm reminded that you actually left an agency to go and start your own outfit, which is pretty hard for creatives. What are some of the challenges that you've been facing that, say, for someone who is about to start his own endeavor, or someone who's about to branch out, especially now that people are losing their jobs due to COVID, that they can anticipate and that they can learn from you, you know, to be able to surmount such challenges?
I think that the biggest thing is the skill set. You know, when you're on the agency side, you know, a very basic thing, you don't always have to worry about you know, who's going to manage the client, who's going to make the calls, you know, who's going to look for new business, who's going to structure the presentation, who's going to do the strategy, you know, who's going to cost things, you know. You have a support structure, you know, and you know, it can get comfortable whereby you're always working on your design skills. And so design skills are nice and you need those, but you know, when you come out here, you realize you need a whole other set of skills, you know, and the really basic ones, like how do you know, manage relationships, you know, how do you manage teams beyond managing a creative team. You know, when you're an agency, you know, you're directly just managing you know, a creative team. But if you're running your own outfit, you know, you have an accountant, you know, you have new business people, you have a producer, you know, you have your own creative. So the skill set that you kind of need to add when you out here running your own thing kind of grows. You're looking for new business. You're seeing the strategic side of not just your clients but the business itself. You know, you have to improve on your presentations. You know, as a creative, you're generally presenting creative work. And now out here and you're running your own outfit, some of the stuff you're doing is business oriented. So some of your presentations and some of the conversations you're having kind of almost commercial discussions, if you could call it that. So you being in an agency, you're in this nice cocoon where you have a support system around you. You know, you have someone else who does that and someone else who does this. But when you're running your own outfit, you have to, even though you still do have this support, but the back stops with you, and the final decisions, that the things that you're making around the business, you know, you have to make the final call. So, you know, we could call it challenges. I think if I was to talk to a younger me, is what I would say is, you know, also learn the other side of the business. You know, there are the different aspects of the business. Where is business going to come from? How do you maintain the business? How are you going to build? Are you going to be able to do brave work? How do you keep pushing to get better and grow beyond just being the creative? Because growth now, when I was in agency, growth for me, maybe I'm pushing on do exciting work, I want to do brave work, I want to push a brand, I want to win a few awards, I want to build my own kind of personal brand and everything. Now growth for me is the business moving forward. I still want to do all this cool stuff, but I have to let the younger guys kind of chase that. I have to be okay with them kind of taking the lead and me pushing on behind and seeing the whole thing, and I'm happy to kind of focus on the business itself and for the business to grow. So it's an interesting space to be. If I'm in an agency, it's still demanding on your spec when you're a creative director, but when you move and like now starting something like Station77, running Stageward, parallel to Station77, it's something you have to look at the business, look at the creative, look at your people, look at the quality of work that is, because we all live and die by the work that we put out there. So that doesn't change. It's just that you have these other extra things to look after.
Okay, you've talked a lot about growth and to be able to look at all these things. However, in this creative industry, you find that things change a lot. There's this running joke about, especially for designers, where you've learned the whole Adobe suite and then 2 years later everything has changed and you have to learn again and relearn everything that you are taught previously. What are some of the growth that you are projecting in this industry that younger creatives can be able to learn from and equip themselves to be able to be ahead of the curve rather than play catch up?
I think so. There's a technical side of the business. Like you're saying with the Adobe suits. And like now for me, some of the other things I kind of have to start going into things. Like Premiere Pro and Final Cut on the editing side and After Effects, for motion. But I think that might actually be the wrong way to look at it when you are creative. So if you look at what we do, there will always be technical people to help you with those things. I don't have to be amazing at editing. I'm going to find someone who's amazing at editing. I don't have to be an outstanding motion guy. I'm going to find, someone who can actually do that. The biggest currency that I have is ideas. I can think. If you can come up with a thought that's interesting, if you can come up with something that's brave and different, don't worry too much about the execution, because the software is going to change. It's going to get better. It's going to improve over a period. So that will always change. And you'll get into a space like right now. My machine keeps telling me every day you need to update the software, and that's been almost like maybe a year now. I'm on the old versions of the CS. So my software is actually outdated, but the thing that I constantly kind of keep working on is, if you can generate ideas, that will never change. That will never go away. If I had there's an old CD I had a similar conversation with. So he had his own agency, and they were turning, I think, about 28 years, and I asked him, how have you been able to do this thing for 28 years, and he said he focused on the ideas. There will always be a younger, fresher person with a who's in touch with popular culture, who's in touch with what's going on, who can express things in a way that connects with with consumers in a way that is relevant, you know. And we were laughing about it the other day, looking at this Bogi Genge thing that's coming out now. I can't for the life of me understand what these kids are saying. But the thing is, you know, if I can find an idea that we can then execute that is culturally relevant and connects, you know, to this generation and audience, you know, that's the currency that you have to chase. So it's important that you have the technical knowledge, and it's important that you work on that. But I think it's the most important thing, you know, are ideas. And I think maybe even a little bit more important that is the ability to sell them, you know, because a lot of the times, you know, you can work on getting better and getting better and getting better and getting better, but you can't sell your ideas, you know. If you can't think of brave stuff to kind of put out there, and then critically be able to sell that stuff so that it actually happens, then all the skills you have and kind of the technical expertise won't save you. You know, you're still going to be kind of stuck at a lower level.
Sorry.
It's all right. I'm seeing some questions popping up.
Yes. Just finish your thought and then we'll get to the question bit.
No, I was done. Are you there? You know, the connection. I think I can see the questions still popping up, but I can't see or hear you, Eddie. Are you there? Can you hear me? Hello. I think the connection is gone. Let me text Eddie. Oh, there you are. I lost you there for a moment. I can't hear you. I think, am I muted or are you muted?
Oh, I'm muted. Oh my God, these Zoom meetings. Anyway, keep it.
No, I can hear you.
Now I'm better. So, where are we? I left you.
We were. Sorry.
I left you talking about technicalities, where people with ideas will never be irrelevant. That's why I think my notes are saying.
Okay. So I think the you know, I don't want to dismiss technical skills, because you know you grow and get to kind of the upper levels because you have the technical basics. So I think it's very important to have technical skills, and you have to polish and refine them. What I'm saying is, as you get more and more senior, I think it's critical that your soft skills grow, and in terms of what you kind of would call domain leadership, improve. So how you generate ideas, how you shepherd ideas from other people, how you present ideas, you sell these ideas. You have to kind of start seeing the bigger picture. When you're younger, it's the conversation is very much around your technical skills. Can you edit? Do you know Photoshop? Do you know Illustrator? Can you illustrate? Can you create music? Can you build apps? That kind of works to some extent, but the true currency, I think, in what we do is in the people who can generate ideas. You always grow there. The technical side is fantastic, and there are people who are outstanding at it. In photography, you're going to find someone who's amazing. You're going to find an amazing cinematographer. So I'm talking about my own personal journey. And I kind of starting off with design, becoming an art director. I think it's in a space I did all right in. I wouldn't say was particularly outstanding, but what I've focused on is being able to generate ideas.
Yeah. Okay. So before we jump into Station77, let's take some questions. Our first questions are coming from Ovita. He says, what are some of the terrible financial mistakes that you made, and maybe out of emotions? And number two, how did he realize it was how did you realize it was time to discard the agency life?
I think the terrible financial mistakes. So I don't know that to call them terrible. Most of the times when you're spending money, it feels really good until it comes back and bites you. The biggest thing, and it's something actually I'm kind of trying to work and teach my kids is just understanding the long-term impact of being able to save a little bit, and kind of like have an understanding of investing, even if you're saving just something as 5,000, 10,000, or even lower than that over a long period, the effects are incredibly amazing, And I think for me, the thing I would say is I've realized it very late in life, and so I've been working since the late the late 90s. So what I know now in terms of just kind of putting a little bit away over the long term, if I knew that back then, I probably would be doing all right. And I love traveling, so every time I get a little bit of money, I'm always off somewhere. So that's not always the cleverest thing, but it's not something I would change. And it's something that I think has made me grow a lot in terms of the exposure, and just kind of seeing the world through a different lens. So I wouldn't call that terrible. The thing that I would say, just kind of goes back to, when you're younger, being able to see, and especially if you look at what's happened this year, there are people who are going to wake up and hear, there's a restructuring in your company, or people are going home, or and if you do not have some sort of stability built around your life, the impact can be terrible. So what I think the saving grace for me, I've got 4 kids, so you kind of have to see the big picture when you have that many kids, in school and in university. So your planning does have to improve. So I would say I'm a little bit better now. Younger me, maybe not so smart.
Okay, Ovita, I hope you are answered. Now, there's a question from Mushira, which lends into the something that I want us to discuss. But
Yes.
first, I'll let you answer his question, which is how does a writer get their work published on the platform, which is Station77?
So,
because I think he saw your book.
He saw the book, and he probably went. We've got a few stories in there. So the reason we started kind of creating this work, beyond just celebrating, celebrating African culture, celebrating African storytellers, and having, so what we want to do is create a platform where we can almost donate it for people to tell stories. So if his stories are good, they go live. The only catch is they can only go up 7 at a time. So we have to have 7 good stories, going back to 77. So it's just one of those little things we set ourselves. So we have 7 values. We can only set up 7 stories. And our hope is actually as we go into the longer term vision, because of the stories they are unscripted, is actually to be able to convert them into film. So it's something that we're going to monetize for ourselves and the people who contribute. It's a platform that can continue growing. You realize in 2 years, time just goes by so fast. We were celebrating turning 2 years earlier this year, and we're saying we literally feel like we just started. So we receive stories all the time. We're very happy to look at them, and if we love them, we'll publish them. If we have thoughts around how they can be made better, we'll also kind of speak and talk about that. So we're pretty open. Love collaborating and sharing and creating. I think we've worked together. You've seen, I always have time for this. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking if Moshe is asking, he may also be wondering what kind of content are you exactly looking for? Because he can bring anything. He can write for you a Philistine soap opera, and maybe that's what you're what you're looking for. So what is the breadth of sphere that you in terms of content that you are aspiring for?
So if you look at so we actually just kind of have two layers of story. So you have the scripted kind of content, based around actual stories, true stuff that's actually happened, and a lot of that, for example, the stuff we did with Mariga, or some of the stuff we've done for Amana Capital, or even some of the stuff we did for Kenya Society for the Blind, that's kind of it's based on reality. It's unscripted. But then you kind of come to our site, the stories there are unscripted. So we're pretty open. It just has to be African. It has to be. We're not even saying it has to be Kenyan. It has to be African. We're very clear, about what we stand for. We're very clear about the stories we want to tell. And for a country and continent that is so rich culturally, we don't want to say, that you have to work in this genre. So we've published children's stories. We've kind of done sci-fi. We've done unscripted content. So we're very clear that we want to be able to tell African stories. And if it's good, we'll publish it.
Okay. Now, speaking of African stories, for the past few years, there's been an influx of content, yeah? And right now we are drowning in so much content. So how does one as a creative to be able to distinguish your work from the pool of content that is already available in the world right now? How do you, how do you make your work stand out such that someone can say, hey, I like that kind of content?
So, by nature, we human beings are storytelling creatures. We are innately drawn to stories. And if the story is good, then we'll consume it, we'll share it, we'll talk about it, and we're going to drive other people to also get there. So it's a good question. when we tell stories, you have to kind of understand, is the story and the content that you're creating relatable to the people you want to talk to? Does it drive the emotions? Because if you look at, you're talking about content, the number of TV series that you get to see, the number of movies that come out, it's almost like you have movies that are kind of hundreds of millions of dollars put into them, and no one wants to watch them, and then some very small, little, low budget stories, that come out and people instantly connect. So it's so important that as you create content, that you study story, and you kind of get to understand what drives people, what people connect with, what people are going to find relatable. So these I don't know if you've seen Joseph Campbell's he did a book many years ago called The Hero's Journey. Yeah, and kind of, yes. Yeah. So we I guess through the years, science is kind of proven that they're not like concrete archetypes to these stories, but it works, and it's worked again and again and again and again, and if you look at cultures, our culture and the cultures around the world, the cultures in Africa, we're always able to transfer knowledge through stories, in songs, so if you look at our stories, the most memorable things, and the most kind of amount of knowledge that we've been able to transfer, it's always in story form. And that's kind of how how we've always done it. And I think the prayer to the person coming to watch whatever content you're making is, like they always, please let it be good. If it's a song, if it's a book, if it's a movie, if it's a series, if it's good, yeah, they will definitely watch it or read it or listen to it.
Yes. If it's good, it will definitely be watched. Ovita is asking, can you please talk about your journey in terms of being afraid of failure or success? And if you have ever experienced the aforementioned. I know you have experienced success. I don't know about failure.
No, you fail a lot, and especially when you try and do brave work, and something that I preach a lot, kind of trying to take a path that might not necessarily have kind of been walked before. You have to be aware that you have the chances of failure are also really, really high. So going back to my Taekwondo days, so I remember in '98 I became African lightweight champion, and in '99 I went to Korea to prepare for the first time Taekwondo was being readmitted into the Olympics. So myself and another guy called Collins got selected to represent the country. So we went for the qualifiers in South Africa, and so I made it to the semifinals and lost literally one game to being the first Kenyan, to be in the Olympics. And I looking back, through that, it wasn't that the guy I lost to was actually better, but since I lost to him, you can't say he was not better than me. And then a week later, I made it to the finals of the All African Games. Again, I lost to an Algerian, by 1 point. 1 point, almost at the end of the game. And these things eat at you. If you're competitive, it's not easy to take failure. But as you grow, you understand, that it's going to happen. And I think it becomes how do you pick yourself up and keep the faith? Because if you have the belief that what what you're doing, where you're going, what you want to achieve, is the right thing, you can't let that go because something didn't work. And I think as creative people, we are always, we have to deal with this sense of I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Is what I'm putting out there good enough? And also when something works, you're sitting there and you're thinking maybe this is the last time that it's going to work. And it's one of the things you kind of always have to contend with is, am I actually, when you are introducing me, and thinking about it, it's just, you walk this journey, and most of the times you're thinking, I'm not good enough, but you have to keep going. You have to still get up, think about the work, and you still have to get out and create. So I think the point is you have to be okay with failing, otherwise you won't try. You won't try something new, you won't try something edgy, you won't try something different, because human beings and the people around you, including sometimes the people you're working with, you're always tempted to pull things into this kind of safe space, because it's been done before, it's something that people have experienced before, have seen before, they know it works. And it's so important that you resist this temptation, but also in resisting this temptation, you have this nagging feeling inside you that they might be right and it's not going to work, so you have to be okay with failing, and you have to know it's gonna come. There will be times, especially in our line of work, it is going to come. There will be times when you will fail.
Yes. And well, speaking of failure, I'm sure a lot of young creatives have that imposter syndrome. And I'm sure as well that you also undergo the same kind of, I'm not good enough, why should I try this? Or, just those feelings that you do not measure up. How then, as a young creative, are you able to, sometimes you don't want to suggest ideas to your boss because you feel like, hey, they will trash it or it's not good enough. How then do you surmount such challenges to be able to believe in your idea, even when other people are saying it's not going to work?
So the first step is, how do you even know it's a good idea? So the way you look at it is, sometimes being able to judge work, being able to judge the quality of the ideas that you're generating comes through experiencing, comes through time. But now, if you're a young person, where is that going to come from? I always say it has to come from quantity. You just have to generate so much, and kind of keep generating. So you're not going to sit and say, idea one is the best idea that I had, idea two is the best that I had. You have to improve. So that you're always going to have this gap between, the work that your eye sees. Your eye is going to learn before you actually have the right skills. So your eye you're always going to have this gap whereby you can see good work, but you might not actually be ready to create good work just yet. Now the way to kind of approach it is you have to generate, and then you're going to get into a place where you start seeing, okay, that's not good enough. I can improve this. I can craft this. Because even good thinking, and good ideas, a lot of the times at the beginning they don't look like it, and especially because a good ideas and kind of what you would call brave work is uncomfortable. It makes you uncomfortable. It makes your clients uncomfortable. It makes the people around you uncomfortable, and sometimes it might not even look like it's good thinking. It's like, what were you thinking when you thought about this? So if you keep generating and you kind of keep creating this stuff again and again and again, what you're doing is you're actually undergoing through this journey and improving yourself, because if you have one idea, you're then going to start executing that one idea. But if you have 10 ideas, or if you have 20 ideas, you have 15 ideas, you have to make a decision of these 10 ideas. Which one do I like the most? Which one do I feel connected to the most? And then, you have to say, okay, I don't like this because of, I don't like this one because of. So you start learning to kill your own work, and kind of the thing they say, kill your own babies, So, and you improve through that, because you have to go through this self-selection process where you're saying that's a bad idea, I think, and this one is better than this other idea. So you kind of keep improving, because especially in a fast-moving environment like the agency, people won't always have the time to listen to your ideas, especially if they think they're not good enough. They'll move on.
Yeah. Okay. Mushira is asking, and remember that you can keep on asking your questions as we come to almost a close of the show. You have a wonderful library behind you. Just curious about how long it has taken you to collect those gems.
So this is taken. So I've got books here that are maybe 10, 15 years, going back, and I've got some that are more recent that I'm kind of trying to catch up with. So like I'll show you a really old book. So like this is really old. This is maybe 10, 13, 14 years old. I can't remember the last time I looked at it. So some are very, very old, and some are pretty recent. So that came with. So this is from way back. I don't know if you're an old designer, you remember this, and it's kind of it's almost like a brainstorming book, kind of like it's almost like a cookbook where you go through, and show you kind of color schemes, and potential idea. I think even the styles are probably quite outdated now. So I've got more books than you can actually see there. That's why you can see some of them are stacked on top of the others. So I've kind of outgrown my library through the years. I've got some other books actually down below here. It's taken a while. It's taken many, many years.
But I'd also like to know, because Mushira beat me to the question, among those books, which is the one that changed your life? That book that you always go back to, apart from the Bible.
So it's a funny thing. I get that question, and I don't know if I can actually see it here because I take it out. So I don't know. It's a very little book. I don't know if you've read Dr. Seuss, All the Places You Will Go. It's a very tiny book. It's a children's book, actually.
No, I have not.
Yeah, check it out. You can even watch. There are a few videos of YouTube of the whole book by Dr. Seuss. It's fantastic. It's a book I kind of have kept reading again and again through the years. It's a children's book. It's one of the most popular books that I have. The other book that I love a lot, and I do look at it again, is that. Damn Good Advice by George Loeries. This is a fantastic book. It's got really good stories.
Yeah. Just like to post that I have the same book here.
Oh, you know? Yeah. Oh, you like it as much as there. Yes. Yeah, fantastic book. I really like it. The book that I've come to really like, although that's a business book, there's a book called The E-Myth, The E-Myth Revisited. It's a story about kind of like why small businesses grow and why some of them don't. It's kind of like and what to do about it. It's someone who referred the book to me maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, and I've read it a lot. So I've read that a lot, and I have read another one called Eating the Big Fish. That one is kind of around strategy. Yeah. So that, and it's kind of this is about growing. So this guy is done another book as well. That's got a lot of stories and examples from Kenya. Adam Morgan. So this is some of these books kind of have influenced me, not so much maybe as a creative like the E-Myth, but more as a kind of like at a business level.
Okay. Yeah. Well, interesting. So we are almost coming to a close, but before we reach the end, maybe I can ask you now, having worked in this creative industry for all those number of years, how then do you stay fresh to be able to, to just stay current and to stay churning out ideas that work all those years?
The any good idea, or or kind of any good execution reflects it's a reflection of its time, or what people usually call pop culture, so anything that you're doing has to be kind of culturally relevant, and what that means is you kind of always have to see what's going on, so that for you to get out from within you, it's a result of what you're putting into you as well. What comes out rather is as a result of what we put into you. So, what kind of music, what kind of films are you watching? What kind of books are you reading? Are you tracking, trends? Are you tracking, what people are talking about? What's cool? What's happening? What's in the moment? And you kind of, get into a space where you can synthesize these things and and kind of start generating stuff.
Something happened?
Sorry? So did you say something? Hello?
Robert? Yeah.
Yes.
You are at any good idea. Something happened.
Oh no, I saw it. I saw the admin guy pop up there. I think.
Oh, sorry. Yes, continue.
Yeah. No, so I was saying, your whatever comes out of you is a result of what you put in. So you have to consume a lot, in music, in books, in fashion, in art, in film, and you kind of looking around what's happening, what's cool at the moment, so that you kind of all these things go in, and you see this, and hopefully, if it works, something interesting comes out. But you have to feed yourself a lot. I think as a creative person, you the quality of your thinking is influenced by your input, the quality of your input. So in fact, I always say you don't look at what we do as creative. You have to look at it as curiosity. You have to be insanely curious about the world around you, about the people around you. So kind of to be able to take in all these stuff. So I think it's not so much about being creative. I think it's about being curious, and always being curious about what's going on around you that allows you to stay fresh.
Okay. Now, before we get to our final questions, you've talked about being curious, yeah? And maybe for a young person who is looking to work with you, what is it that you look in them that you say that this is a person that I can work with, or this is a person that maybe needs some more time to be able to acclimatize to the stressful working conditions?
the kind of life that we lead. So
yes.
Of course, what you're doing always helps. When you get to see work, and you can judge, is this work interesting or is this work not interesting? But the way I look at it, and especially when you're working with younger creatives, and they still don't have the exposure and they still don't have the right tools to grow. What I always say is you either have to be faster than me, so that I'm catching up and guiding you and pointing you in the direction, or you have to be able to work harder than me. Basically, both of those is to make sure you stay ahead of me. So what happens, and I think I'm speaking for a lot of kind of older creatives, is if I'm telling you change this, move this 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and it needs to go, we'll probably either move it to a senior resource or end up doing it ourselves, which is a terrible thing. I don't think we should do that. But sometimes it's just like I don't want to stay on this project for so long, and in my mind I already know what we want to do. I already know what it is that we want to accomplish. So if you're working with a younger creative and they're kind of faster, or maybe they work a lot harder, that means they're always ahead of you, because if you catch up or if you pass them, what's going to happen is I'm going to bump the project off to a senior resource, or I'm going to end up starting being involved in it. And I think that's not good for me. It's not good for a young creative. So I think skill is important, but I think the attitude is probably maybe even more important, as for growth. I remember, I'm a big fan of telling people, you have to breathe, you have to look after yourself, you have to, look at how much you put in. But when we were young, like we literally used to sleep in the office. It's probably not the right thing, but we wanted it. We wanted it. And I think, like, speaking for myself, I grew a lot faster because of the amount of time and effort I put into it at the beginning. I literally lived and breathed and just kind of, pushed and pushed and pushed until, the opportunities increase and the responsibility increase, and you all of a sudden you're now in front of clients, you're being trusted and given bigger projects, and you keep kind of moving forward. And it kind of comes down to the question is, how bad do you want it? If you, it's such a simple thing, and I think it's not just as a creative person, it's also in life. How bad do you want it? Because you can't stay where you started, and you can't stay in one place. But that can only be driven by this internal engine that is kind of pushing you forward all the time. So I always love seeing stuff from young people. And when you're young, you probably have had 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to craft something, maybe sometimes even a month to make it look good. But if you don't have the application, and especially in a time when you're being asked, create again. If you don't have the drive, the determination, and kind of, focus to do it, it gets very hard.
Yes. Okay. That is the positive side and the glorious side of this industry, where people are, there are wars that you win, the long nights finally paying off. But there's also the dark side, where a lot of creatives end up taking their lives. And there's this popular notion of, to be a creative, you have to be, either drunk, or you have to be, you have to engage in a lot of drugs to remain sane. What is your opinion, and how do you, advise a younger creative coming up against these notions? Because even me, when I was joining, I was told, hey, by the time you leave this agency, or by the time you get to robust level, either utakuwa a drunk, or you become, you have to have one terrible vice in this industry.
So it's a myth, it's a myth, and it's a bad myth. Of course, the mental health issues are very real, and especially I think in our industry, because the work that we do comes from the mind, and you do get attached, and you do get passionate about it, and we go through a lot of rejection, we go through a lot of pressure and really intense pressure, to create and get work out. And sometimes, it does sometimes come from people who don't always care. But I think what we do, especially, I think is a blessing, because you get that. How many industries are you going to sit and work on beer one day, and then work on a telco the following day, and work on sweets the day after that, and then get to work on an airline, and then turn around and work on a car? That's pretty rare. Most people do one thing. You're either in beverages, or or maybe you are in cars and stuff like that. The joy of what we do is you get to see so many industries from so many lenses, and learn and grow, and kind of coming back to this thought that for you to keep producing, you have to be kind of unstable, or you have to do kind of drugs together. I think it's probably one of the biggest lies that kind of people have pushed. People, if you're looking at it, would I say it's an easy industry? It's not. It does have its own challenges. It does get intense. But what I would say is you have to know how to look after yourself. And you kind of have to get to an understanding. When am I getting close to the edge? When am I almost burning out? When is the stress getting too much? And I think like what Jason Brackner is doing now with Headspace 254, kind of starting to create a space where people can talk about these things. Because for the longest time, people didn't talk about these things. And like now for myself, whenever I feel like it's kind of almost on the verge of burning out or it's not working, I tend to travel. I'll go away for a while. And when I'm somewhere else, you're not going to get me with a brief. And you can't get a project to me. So my taking care of myself, is I've learned when it's getting harder and kind of getting intense, and when it's not working, I've learned how to unplug. And then also, one of the really important things is, if you're not a functioning part of society, and if you're not out there, socializing, for the people that you are actually communicating to, eventually your work is not that good, because
Yes.
the people you're talking to are out there. They are going for movies. They're going to a place to watch a performance. So you have to kind of find a balance whereby, yes, it's about the work, but go out there, see young artists, performing, go out to an art show, go to a movie, go have fun. It's the quality of your work shows. If all you do is work and you're kind of stuck behind a computer, after some time you're not going to have really good work. You have to enjoy life. It's very, very important.
Okay. Now, sadly, 1 hour is over, and I can't believe it's been 1 hour despite those KPLC things. But before I let Robert go, maybe you can tell us those words that someone told you that changed your life. Whether it's 3 words, 2 words, 5 words, or just 1 word, whatever that person told you that really changed your life.
I don't know whether it's I don't know whether it's someone who told me. It's just one of those things. I think I read it somewhere, and it kind of stuck with me. And so the thing, as human beings, and not just at a creative level, you have to hope and pray that you have the imagination to see things, and then once you have the imagination to see things, you have the fortitude to be able to plan them out, and then you have to have the courage to try and actually do it. So the way I always say, and that kind of starts with being able to dream big dreams. You have to believe that you can change the status quo, and you can change the world and the environment around you, because it's so easy to be told that that you're not going to be this, or you're not going to achieve this, or you're not going to get here. And when you don't have big dreams, and if you don't try, it's easy to just fall by the roadside. I'd actually written something about it the other day. I'm trying to find it. Yes, yeah, I found it. I say you. So number one is you must dream. Then if you have a dream, you must kind of have a plan, or you must learn how to execute it, and then of course you must act. So because the ultimately, dreams give you the vision of where you want to go. Learning kind of gets to point you in the right direction, and then action gets you there. So for me, as I grow older, those kind of three things keep resonating with me. That you must dream, that you must learn, and you must act. Because if you're dreaming, then that means you kind of have an idea of what it is that you want to do. Then if you're learning, you're getting the tools that will equip you to get there. But those don't mean anything if you don't actually act. So you have to have the courage to then take action.
Thank you. I think if I say anything more than this, I'm going to take away from what Robert said, and I don't want to do that. The final word is dream, learn, and act. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. But I don't know, Robert, do you mind showing us a Taekwondo move? Me, all I know is those.
No, we don't have that much. We don't have that much space, and it's I box a lot more now than I do Taekwondo. After my accident, I don't move as well as I used to.
So when the client says no to a project, you are like, no, I can box you.
I wish. Actually, unless I tell you, most people don't actually know, that I used to do Taekwondo. I guess unless we've known each other for a long time, that's almost a different part of my life. I partially grew up in Muduro as well, so I was pretty good at boxing as well as Taekwondo. It's just I kind of wound up on the Taekwondo side, and it was really rewarding. But I think if I wasn't doing Taekwondo, I would probably be doing boxing. And I actually now box a lot more than I do Taekwondo, which is fun. But I can't remember the last time I tried punching someone.
I'll take it. Stay warned that Robert is a boxer. I don't know if there's anything that I should have asked you that I have not.
No, not really. I mean, it's a pleasure. It's kind of interesting chatting off the cuff about these things. I think, and the only thing that I would tell kind of any young, maybe not even so young, kind of creative watching is don't just rely on your creative skill set. You have to be quite well rounded, especially in these times whereby if you don't have a job, during this pandemic that's happened to quite a number of my friends, is how you then going to sell work, how you're going to look for work, how you're going to create decks, and do strategy. So you kind of have to widen your skill set beyond your everyday, your being a creative person. So you looking at, can I sell work, can I look for work, can I work on strategy, can I present work, because if things were to change and maybe you can't find a job, you then have to be, you have to wear several hats. You have to be the salesman, you have to be the guy presenting, you have to be the guy doing the strategy, you have to be the guy driving your own business or little outfit forward, or even a big one. So the thing is, you grow older, as you kind of learn, you have to have a skill set that's quite well rounded. Look at what your suits are doing. Look at what your accounts people are doing. Look at what the business heads are doing, and try to understand how they do it, because you might actually need it. And if you're growing, you're probably almost certainly going to need it.
Yes. Amen. I think I've replaced those 7 minutes that for internet connection and stima kupotea. But there you've had it straight from Robert's mouth, one of the most creative directors in Kenya. Remember, you can check out his work at www.station77.co.ke and Stageward, but I'll put a link when this video is up on our live platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Robert, for coming for our session, but don't leave yet. Tuko na chai ya mgeni hapo kando. Thank you guys for tuning in. Till next Friday. Don't do drugs, stay in school. Cheers.
All righty. Bye-bye.